How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, and welcome to another episode of What the Fuck is Going On in the Universe, where we get to the point of what the planets are trying to tell you. This is for December 31st through January 7th of 2019, so Happy New Year's, guys. Welcome to 2019. We survived 2018, and I'm so excited to be here and to talk about this, and I'm not even going to really talk about last week because nothing was really going on last week, and this is a huge week. We're jumping into a lot of new energy, a lot of big things happening like right at this first week of January. So let's go ahead and just start getting right into the horoscope. So starting off today, Monday the 31st, we're still at the last day of 2018, but Mars is going to ingress into Aries later on this evening. And that's really important because as we wake up into the new year and we go into 2019, we're going to have Mars in its home sign. And I talked a lot about this in my monthly horoscopes. If you guys want to check those out, or if you already did, you already know how much I said about this. However, with Mars being in its home sign of Aries, where we're talking about our energy and our action and our ability to move forward, our ability to actually have energy to do things, as well as, we're dealing with anger and aggression. Things are going to be a little bit more hostile, for lack of a better word. However, with Mars being in Aries, it's like, man, we're charging up right going into the new year. It's going to be late on Monday too, so it's not going to be like, all day Monday the 31st. Mars is going to be in Pisces. It's not going to be until later where you're going to start to feel that energy. But once you wake up and going into 2019, you'll feel a lot more refreshed and a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? You'll have a lot more energy is the best way to put it. But also on Monday, we have the moon trining Neptune. And while the moon is in Scorpio, it's getting deep, it's thinking about things, it's feeling things out. As it trines Neptune, I think this is kind of getting us to the point of clarity of like, hey, how are we feeling right now? And where do we really need to focus on in order to kind of stay away from the illusion and stay away from the confusion that Neptune can bring? And so I think as the moon in Scorpio kind of gets nitty and gritty and down into things, because this is New Year's Eve going into the new year. You may not be celebrating it, but the whole world is, so you're kind of tapped into that energy regardless. So with the moon being in Scorpio, you may be thinking, like, what's this next year going to be like? How am I feeling right now? A lot of things are intense. As the moon shines Neptune, I think this is just going to be a good time to really see past the blurred lines and to get a little bit more clarity of where your direction is, especially as Mars is going into Aries. So then you wake up on Tuesday, January 1st, we have the Sun conjoining Saturn, where Saturn will go Cazimi. It will be underneath the Sun. You can't see Saturn anymore in the night sky. This is really important. Saturn's now direct because that's just how the astronomy of things work. And Saturn is now in this fresh new territory of Capricorn that he hasn't been through in the past, 30 years. And Saturn going through a new part of the sign is giving us more obstacles, giving us more challenges, giving us different barriers, different walls to work through. And this is really important as the Sun conjoins Saturn because this is resetting that cycle. This is refreshing Saturn's energy. It's not necessarily saying like, hey, things are going to get worse or blah, 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 blah. It's that with Saturn going, its last retrograde cycle, we did all of that Saturn stuff we needed to. Now we have more Saturn work that's going to be more offered. It's like we wake up to the first of the year, ready to go to work, ready to start something new, ready to really discipline yourselves, really ready to like commit to something. And that's basically Saturn energy, is big commitment, big, serious stuff. And as the Sun hits Saturn, I think this is just going to be a refreshing energy of actually committing to disciplining yourself, having more, authority and control in your life, being able to establish, new walls that are, positive, and also taking down walls that aren't working anymore. And Saturn is going to create more obstacles, that's almost a given. However, Saturn's whole, thing is you got to face these obstacles with a, disciplined, with a mature, with a serious mindset in order to conquer them. And as we go into Tuesday as well, the moon is going to conjoin Venus in Scorpio. And as Venus is still going through Scorpio, where, she's getting in depth, she's still getting raw, she's still getting real, she's almost out of there, because by this time next Monday, we'll have Venus going into Sagittarius. However, as the moon conjoins Venus, I think this is just going to be a time to get serious and to do that commitment and that level of, Scorpio things where they like to hold on. They like to, get submersed in, whatever it is that they're feeling. And I think as the moon conjoins Venus and Scorpio right here, where things are going to get, raw and in depth, I think this is going to be, you're going to find a place of value in here. And especially as the Sun conjoins Saturn and, all this hard work, all of this disciplinary Saturn, Capricorn energy is coming out. I think this moon-Venus conjunction in Scorpio is going to allow us to kind of be like, hey, I'm ready to commit. I'm ready to go to this level. I'm ready to achieve. I'm ready to work, and I'm ready to focus. So then as we go into Wednesday, January 2nd, we have the moon going into Sagittarius, and it is going to make a conjunction with Jupiter, and it is going to trine Mars. So this is really exciting. So that first day of 2019, you may feel a little like, it's going to feel a little Capricorn, a little Saturn. It's going to feel very, professional, very, formal. However, as the moon goes into Sagittarius and conjoins Jupiter, and it's going to trine Mars, this is where that energy and that excitement is really going to start to come out. As the moon goes into Sagittarius, it's wanting, to free itself, expand itself. It's like, when I was living in Vegas and I was working on like the Strip and in downtown, it was like, no matter what day it was, when the moon was in Sagittarius, everyone was out partying. It was always busier than normal. And I think that's so funny because the moon in Sagittarius wants to have fun, wants to go somewhere, wants to see people and learn things. And so as the moon conjoins Jupiter, where Jupiter's now in Sagittarius, really bringing all of this stuff to awareness, making this a very philosophical topic of, what am I learning? What am I believing? Where am I growing? Where am I going to? And as the moon trines Mars, where Mars is in Aries, Mars is ready to conquer, Mars is ready to do things, you're ready to put the energy out, you're ready to put your full self out there is a good way to put it. As the moon trines that, this is really positive energy of like, hey, now that Mars is, in Aries, we have the ability to go, we have the ability to do, we have the ability to enact on those, feelings, on that excitement. So I think Wednesday is going to be a little bit better than Tuesday. However, Wednesday is going to be busy. Wednesday, you're going to feel like there's a lot more going on, but this is just going to be a big time to really look at the opportunity that's there and where it's growing into. So then on Thursday, January 3rd, we're going to have Venus trine the North Node. And I think this is going to be really interesting because as the North Node's now in Cancer and now that the moon's in Sagittarius, we're building up to the solar eclipse as Venus is in Scorpio, getting to, I think it's like 26 degrees. Scorpio is where she trines the North Node. When Venus does trine the North Node, I think this is giving us a lot more clarity and a lot more in-depth picture of what that direction is, where we're kind of going with things, how the new change in the new direction kind of looks and how it kind of feels. And as Venus is in Scorpio, where she's like really feeling it all and getting down with it, I think this is just going to be an exciting time where Venus is in Scorpio, she's realizing what she wants, she's realizing that she conquered the fear of getting out of Scorpio where she can finally go to Sagittarius. But as Venus trines the North Node, and the North Node's in Cancer, where the North Node is the direction we want to go into, the North Node is, what we want to consume, and this is in Cancer. We're talking about what our needs are. We're talking about trusting other people. We're talking about really nurturing ourselves, and I think Venus in Scorpio is ready to do that. And as she trines the North Node, I think this is giving us a all-encompassing feeling of knowing which direction that we're going to and having that sense of emotional clarity around these things. And also on Thursday, Mercury is going to be at the Galactic Center. It is going to be squaring Chiron, so it is going to be a little bit funky. However, as Mercury's over the Galactic Center, if you guys don't know, is basically the center of the Milky Way galaxy. And there's a really good way, Dane Rudhyard talks about this a lot in his book. Oh my God, what is it called? The Sun is also a star, the galactic, the galactic astrology, that's what it is. Anyway, he really hits on that, the sun is the center of our solar system. That's a really big deal. This is why people really validate their sun signs. This is why, literally all the planets revolve around the sun. It's basically, there's a reason why the sun is ruled by Leo, and it's about ego and stuff like that. It's all about the sun. Well, the Galactic Center is that on a bigger picture. It's that in our space and time. And as Mercury goes over the Galactic Center in Sagittarius, I hate to be so woo-woo about this, but this is kind of like, some download of energy of like knowing, a deeper sense of meaning, a deeper sense of understanding of that direction, of that clarity. This is Sagittarius, where we are talking about, philosophy and adventure and learning. And I think the Galactic Center point in Sagittarius is like Sagittarius on like drugs and drunk, like just going off about things. Like it goes deep into spirals. It can go very deep and lost into like, your own psyche, your own understanding and your beliefs. But I think as Mercury goes over the Galactic Center, this is just a big time to get in depth with yourself, good time to meditate, good time to talk to your guides. This is a good time to just really look at everything in a really big picture on a soul encompassing level, like on a life level almost. And as Mercury hits the Galactic Center, it's not like it's going to be a huge life moment, but it's going to be good to put that perspective into play and really look at things in that big picture to give you a better sense of clarity of moving forward in direction. Yeah, and it is going to square Chiron. It may bring up some questions of what are the possibilities, what's next, what's actually out there, but that's okay. This is for you to learn. This is for you to grow. However, on that day as Venus trines the North Node and Mercury goes into Sagittarius, or Mercury goes over the Galactic Center. Just feel it out. Don't get too lost. Don't go too far with it, but just feel it out and really experience the energy. So then on Friday the 4th, we have the moon going into Capricorn. We have Mercury going into Capricorn, and it's going to be squaring Mars. And this is intense because as Mars is in Aries, where we're wanting to do, we're wanting to achieve, we're wanting to go, Mercury's going into Capricorn, the moon's going into the Capricorn, where you got to focus, you got to work, you got to detach away from the emotions of things. And it's kind of like you may feel like you have to focus on one aspect of something before you can really, it's kind of like you have to do your homework before you can go and play. You have to pay the bills before you can go out and party. As the moon goes into Capricorn, where it needs to be detached, it needs to be serious, it needs to take a cold analytical look at things. And as Mercury goes into Capricorn, where Mercury's kind of, okay, you know, it's not so fun and dandy in Sagittarius, it's more serious, more professional, more formal, more disciplined, more easygoing and efficient on its communication. And as it goes into Capricorn, this is when things are going to get very mundane, very Saturnian, very, you know, just more serious is the best way to put it. But as it squares Mars, you may feel some tension, like you've got to focus on your work, or you've got to detach away from how you feel about something, about maybe, this is Mars, it could be anger and frustration is being caused because you've got to focus on your work, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. But the biggest thing is, as the stuff is in Capricorn, I mean, we're about to go into, because that's Friday the 4th. Saturday the 5th, we have a solar eclipse. Like, we need to focus on the Capricorn stuff. So as the moon goes there and Mercury goes into Capricorn, focus on what themes are coming up for you regarding what house Capricorn rules. You know, what's going on for you in that area? What do you need to focus on? Where are things, you know, taking all of a sudden big attention towards? Because then on Saturday the 5th, we have the solar eclipse in Capricorn. It is on the south node. This is in Capricorn. This is some pretty big stuff. This is the first eclipse that we have in this new, you know, nodal axis that's being activated. And as the south node's in Capricorn, where the south node is, you know, looking back at our past, what have we learned? What are we naturally good with? What do we need to let go of in order to go towards the future? And as we have a solar eclipse right here, the moon, it's a new moon. This is resetting the intentions. This is clearing things out. And as we have this solar eclipse on the south node, this is kind of like, all right, where do we need to stray away from when it comes to this Capricorn stuff? I mean, Saturn's right there. We have a lot of work to do right here. And, you know, Mercury's going to be right here. The moon's going to be right here. Pluto's right here. There's an eclipse right here. A lot of Capricorn energy going on. And I think the big theme of this eclipse is really going to be, where do we need to really kind of get away, not necessarily from the disciplinary stuff of Saturn, but where do we really need to just get a handle on our on how we structure ourselves, on how we really discipline ourselves, how we really, you know, get things serious. And as the south node comes right there, I think this is going to be an easier point versus the north node is kind of like, you know, it's kind of, you want to go towards there, but it's, you have to achieve it, you have to follow it. The south node comes very naturally. So I think this is going to be a big time of really taking care of this Capricorn stuff. So look where Capricorn rules in your chart, because whatever house that is going to be the big theme for you. And that Saturn and Capricorn stuff with the south node and the eclipse, it's kind of like you need to focus entirely on this right now. And then we enter eclipse season, where it's just weird for 2 weeks. I will preach this to the day I die. When you're in between eclipses, it is the weirdest time in the world. So get ready for a weird time. And not even just like, you know, a Venus retrograde weird, or like, you know, a Mercury retrograde weird. Like, eclipse time is definitely like funky, and things are very susceptible to change. But the eclipses are really, really big deals. They're big exclamation points on time. So as we go into this eclipse, I really want you guys to look at, you know, how do you need to handle and address these situations with the most ease and with your natural abilities and talents that you already have, and really just get a handle on this. It's kind of like, all right, like, you know, stop playing around, just handle it and do it and get it done with. Yeah, and that's basically that. And don't get me wrong, and also the south node is also going to be on Saturn. That was the other thing, and that's on Saturday the 5th. And as the south node's on Saturn, it's kind of like, okay, like, where do we need to get a grip on our past? Where do we need to handle things? Where do we need to put things in their place? Where do we need to discipline ourselves in the area of where our past was, of what we're naturally good at? It's kind of like the south node is like, hey, you learned from an experience, right? Like, use what you learned. Don't make the same mistake twice. And I think that's a big thing for Saturn and the south node being together. But then on Sunday and Monday, January 6th and 7th, things definitely change. We have Uranus going direct on Sunday, which that's basically the only thing that's happening on Sunday. The moon's still going to be in Capricorn. However, as Uranus goes direct, that's when you're definitely going to feel like a little bit of an electrifying feel. This is Uranus's last direct station in Aries for the next like 84 years or something like that. And so as Uranus goes direct, you may feel yourself, Uranus is liberation, freedom, anarchy, innovation, and change. And this is in Aries where Mars is now. This is about our energy. This is about our action. This is about confrontation. And as Uranus goes direct, I think this is going to give you guys a little spurt of energy that you may need to keep moving forward, to kind of like conquer it, to not be afraid of the tasks that are in front of you, which is all that Capricorn stuff, and be able to just be like, you know what? I can do it. I can handle this. I have the energy. I have the capability. And even though I'm in the face of adversity, I can still do it because I'm me. I mean, that's also my Leo talking, but I want you guys to definitely wear that this week because this is an exciting week. Because by the time we go into this, by the time I'm recording this next video on Monday, January 7th, we have the moon going into Aquarius, Venus goes into Sagittarius, and Mercury is going to square Mars. And this is going to be interesting because as Venus goes into Sagittarius and she's shedding her skin, her scaly, weird skin in Scorpio, and goes into Sagittarius where she's free and she can be her light and she can explore and she can spend lavish money on far distance traveling and things like that. As Venus goes into Sagittarius starting next week, this is definitely an exciting new front. Venus has been in Scorpio for a long ass time. We have felt gunky for a long time. We have felt stuck. We have felt, under control. We have felt, like not having the ability to have control over things. And as Venus goes into Sagittarius, this is definitely like, I guess in a weird way to put it, it's like a running away energy. It's like having that freedom of exploration and learning more and diving into those things. So as we go into next week, we're going to be different people by the time we go through this week and go into next week. However, this is going to be really exciting. And by the time we get back to Monday, also Mercury's going to square Mars. I think this is going to be a lot of tension with, our ideas and what's kind of going on in our heads versus what our actions are. And we'll get more into that on Monday. However, this week is really big, guys. I want you guys to go through it. I want you guys to get excited for it. This is 2019. Like, January is a big month in itself. And you guys, if you haven't checked out my horoscopes about it, go ahead and check them out. I also linked up with Chris Brennan of the Astrology School and also the Astrology Podcast. And we did January horoscopes too for your sun signs. So if you guys want to go check that out, I will link all this stuff underneath here. But besides that, that's what I got for you guys. That's this week. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of energy, but it's eclipse season. Like, we've got to focus, and the attention, wherever it is, wherever Capricorn is in your chart, is definitely going to come alive this week. But I think as we're doing this going into a new year, I think there's a lot more excitement and a lot more possibilities than usual. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. I love being here with you, and thank you guys for being here with me. And I'll be seeing you guys next week.